It's a shame that there's only one Artur amongst us.
Look at the tie.
The tie gives it away.
You can tell it's the ticket price to entry. When I go to a nice soiree and I look like this exactly, and they're like, "Oh, Mr. Artur, your table's been prepared for you. We saw that Bigfoot video, knocking on the doors of destiny, aren't we?" Welcome to the Retro Boost podcast. Joining me today, Tori, Chris, Mike, and the topic today, we're talking about cool locations. Whether it be like a location in a scene or a location that a whole thing takes place at, we're talking where it happens and why that's cool. That is today's topic. So, been looking forward to this. The fun slash not fun part for me is that as the preparer of the materials, I know all your picks going into it. So, you guys get the joy of the mystery. That is robbed of me. But I get the joy of looking forward to hearing about your picks. And that time has now come. So the question I will ask first, and you can feel free to fight over it viciously, we'll have tryouts, is who wants to go first? Fight about it. You can pick.
So I do have a question though. Do you not have a pick? Because if you have a pick, I think you should go first.
Yeah.
Really? It's because I'm an Artur, isn't it?
It's
Is
the
that
tie.
why?
Exactly.
I get the
You have to set the stage.
Yeah.
Oh man, I guess I'll take that hit. I can go first. Yeah. Let's get over to our presentation screen.
Whoa.
And photos. Show. And all right, so starting it off, a location that I think is really cool. And for mine, it was a little bit tricky because I had an initial idea that I was running with, but then I had another idea, and I was like, ooh, I like that idea. But also, how do I do that? Because my pick isn't in one singular thing. It's actually in a lot of different things, and sometimes in different forms.
Oh my.
Now, this first picture is a wide shot. It's kind of the only one I could find that made sense, but you may be like, what the hell is this? So I'm going to go immediately to the next screen. Tori, man.
Oh, I love that shot. That's one of my favorite shots.
Okay.
What's happening here? It's the Batcave.
Yeah.
I think that the Batcave is one of the most iconic locations in all of fiction. Kind of specifically, I'm kind of honing in on the DC animated universe version of the Batcave. Although the first screenshot was not from that, but I'm working with what I can, okay, Mom? It's hard. So the Batcave, this is probably the most consistent screenshot here. This is from Batman versus the Ninja Turtles, but this wide shot gives us a lot of the hallmarks of the Batcave that appear in many of its iterations. We have the giant penny, which Batman got from a 40s comic. I think it's called the Penny Plunderer. It's the name of the bad guy. I think they retconned that though to be from Two-Face and recent stuff. We got the giant T-Rex. We got the Bat computer, the Joker card. These are all the staples that you see for the Batcave in animated form. And I think it's just a cool location. It's home. You see it and you're like, Batman's home. He's safe. He does things with his friends. This is his home. Is what this is. You almost never see Batman in Wayne Manor. Selectively, it depends. This is where it all takes place.
The show is called Batman, not Bruce Wayne.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's pretty much the reason why I didn't watch Gotham or Pennyworth, because I was like, that's not the thing that I like.
That's not the reason I watch this show. Or what
No offense, Alfred, but I'm not coming to this show for you.
I don't even care that much about Alfred, honestly.
Alfred is cool. Alfred is cool.
Alfred's cool. Yeah.
He's cool. I just don't care about him.
Outvoted.
I like
Alfred is
pick,
in fact
I think that's a great pick.
Yeah, Batcave's cool. Yeah.
So we got
a
a couple hallmarks I wanted to point out, because this is another good shot. Although I think it's not. It is in this one. So on the far left, you can see it. So I mentioned the penny, the card, the dinosaur, the Bat computer. There's also one more kind of cool hallmark, and that's the costume case, which is always like a cool visual history that you look at that and you immediately know like where in the general timeline whatever you're watching takes place. Even Zack Snyder did it with his Batcave because he had like the beat up Jason Todd Robin suit was in there. So you know, like he tells you things. You get a good shot of it though in Batman Beyond because Terry first stumbles down there and we see the current Batman suit, but also we got Nightwing suit. You see Mortem as he passes by, and like this right here just like tells you like what's happened. Like we know that there was a Batgirl, we know that there was a Robin, but it's a young Robin. So we got Nightwing. So who's that? Is that Jason? Is that Tim? It's cool. I love seeing the cases. They're in a lot of it. That's the wide shot from Batman Beyond. So once again, Penny, T-Rex display case. But the Batman Beyond cave, which is in the same universe as, the DC animated universe, so like Mask of the Phantasm, Tori, like same universe. So this is that Batcave, but just like 50, 60 years later. There's just so much like history that you see in the cave. It's also a place for like, his friends to be. This is from Public Enemies, which I hope that we'll get like some adaptation of for James Gunn's thing. Comes from the World Finest series. Superman and Batman, they're able to be themselves here. I mean, look at that. Batman mask off, hanging out with Superman. Like, that's cool. Yeah. It's really cool. This is from Justice League Doom. That's from... same idea, Bat Computer. This one didn't have the other stuff, but it was a good wide shot of the cave. Because sometimes the cave has, like, waterfall, or he comes in through a waterfall, or he comes underground. The live-action movies love the waterfall. I think that's in, like, all of them.
It's a cool effect.
Yeah. It's in all of them. But what good is a sanctuary if it's not... I'm an auteur. It's not safe. I like episodes / movies where the Batcave is under siege, because it feels like this safe space that you've come to know is being like invaded. It's being violated. So I remember first seeing that in Batman Beyond pretty early. It's like the second episode. The villain Inc. Gets in by hitching a ride on the Batmobile. And again, you get this visual history of like what Bruce has been through across like the 50 years. You got the Harley Quinn costume and what looks like Catwoman's costume, and Inc. is just destroying it all as she fights Terry through the whole thing. Mr. Freeze's gun was in there. That little mafia voodoo doll thing is in there too. And then in the DC animated movie universe, the cave gets invaded by the Owls. The Court of Owls raids the Wayne Manor and the cave. Once again, your kind of established safe space is being like blown apart. That's a good movie. I like that one. It's Batman versus Robin. The Court of Owls storyline. There
hasn't been a cave break-in, a Batcave break-in in any of the live-action movies, has there?
No.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, definitely. Yeah.
When?
Yeah. Batman Forever, the Riddler.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, yeah.
He does.
Yeah.
And then
totally
you could
forgot
also,
about that.
Doesn't it happen in Batman Begins?
Yeah, Batman Begins, I think, also.
The manor gets invaded. The cave is safe.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
So, but yeah, Batman
Definitely
Forever.
Batman Forever, yeah. I remember
Totally forgot about that.
the Riddler throwing those little bat bombs.
Yep. I remember that now.
And destroying everything, yeah. Jim Carrey was great in that
Yeah,
role.
what a role. What a
role. Yeah.
Yeah, Tommy Lee Jones reportedly hated him.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
He probably was annoyed, it's probably like...
Probably annoying because he's doing Jim Carrey things.
Yeah.
I think it was
Tommy Lee
a...
Jones seems kind of grumpy.
I think from what he said in the interview, I think it was like he didn't like that Jim Carrey was like so famous, debatably more famous than himself, the way that he acted and got to that level, which for me is just kind of lame.
Right.
Like, come on, man. Like, there are people that get famous for crying. People get famous for being serious. There's no.
Brother, you went from there to Men in Black. Relax.
It's so true.
He's great in Men in Black too.
Yeah, that movie's great. Yeah.
Yeah, but like if we're gonna talk about if we're having the I'm a real actor, kind of conversation, I need you to sit down.
Yeah.
I need you to sit down, people. Take a sip of your coffee. You'll be all right.
Good paycheck.
Yeah.
So I'll go ahead and go next unless anybody objects.
Go for it.
All right.
You can go ahead and give us a preface if you want, and then
Okay, so
going.
when you think about horror settings, there are certain things that hit a certain tinge for me.
I already know where you're going.
Really?
And I love it.
And the one thing, you have like the haunted house vibe, have kind of like the more slasher vibe scenario. And then you have what it would be like to be in a horror setting in space. And to me, there's nothing scarier than being trapped in a tight corridor box with a thing. I'm talking about a video game, actually, which was breaking the mold a little bit, I think, for what we're going through here. But I am talking about the USG Ishimura in the video game Dead Space.
Interesting. Not where I thought you were going.
Yes.
But
I timed it so good.
Yeah. So this game is I'm going to try to not review the game by explaining how important this ship is to the environment and to the story. Yeah, but it's going to be hard. I tried to play this game on PlayStation 3 when it was the environment for me was just so intense. It was dark. The lighting was so great. The enemies were these like fleshy things with blades called necromorphs, and I just found them to be so unsettling. You can even see here just the way that the lighting works in the game, the way that the light kind of bounces off I6 shoulder plates, just the way that the game utilizes the environment setting is just straight 10 out of 10.
yeah.
The way that the enemies come out of the walls, like this scene literally right here, you first get on the ship here, so you don't really know what's going on, don't know what to expect. The way that the light there is turning, it's just so intense. This is in the beginning of the game. The player doesn't really know I don't even think at this point you have a gun. And this is all done in the environment in the ship. See right there. Yeah.
Oh.
I like in this game how your health is on, like the thing on your spine is like your health bar.
Yep.
I think that's pretty sweet.
Everything
yeah.
is your health bar,
look at the lighting there.
Yeah.
Your health
Everything is
bar,
practical.
your magic, your stasis ability, like the bar for that is on there.
Yeah.
Everything is on Isaac's suit. It's very immersive.
And right here, so just the way that the game utilizes these really tight corridors, you have no way of. And the game is encouraging you to run. I think setting the tone in a game like this, saying like, "Hey, there's going to be, look at that. That is
incredible."
Oh man, yeah."
Was it just there? You dropping out a little bit?
Oh really?
Yeah, you did. You dropped it a lot.
I had a
actually.
little bit.
Oh my bad.
Yeah. There you go.
You can't
but
control
yeah,
it.
just-
I don't know what caused it. It's weird.
Just the way that the game utilizes the environments game, and you'd think since it takes place on one ship, you'd think that there really wouldn't have variety when it comes, but it does. It opens up quite a bit. There are moments where you go out into space. The plasma cutter. Whoa.
Stand by. Hold on. I'm going to the space one.
You
It's
know,
so far into space shooting.
the classic Batman plasma cutter.
Classic Batman, right? That's great.
Hold on. Going to space. We're going to space. We're going to space.
Sure.
We can do it. Okay, I'm in
Going to space. We are in space. We are
I did it.
So-
It was the first try. You didn't see Batman. You thought you saw it.
You're good. But then you
Batman
have
famously
kind
on
of
the Ishimura during the breakout.
yeah.
Now I'm imagining Isaac is Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, right. Fun sequence right here, but yeah, this just kind of shows that like just because the game, well, not the whole game, not going to spoil too much, but the majority of the game, 95% of the game takes place on the ship. That there's not variety in it. That's one of the things that you'd think would be a challenge for the game, when in reality it really does a great job kind of providing, like I said, variety of environment. We talked about the lighting, so great when you're in those tight corridors. The sound design, if you play this game with headphones on and the lights off, you were in for quite the experience. It really puts itself in a great spot as far as being a great survival horror game. But this game, one of the strengths is that you really can't get lost in this game. So you look at that lighting, like that's just great.
So dynamic.
Yeah, it's so. I remember the sequence.
The UI design as well is incredible.
Because this is where I think that remakes for movies situationally are very unnecessary, but a remake for a game is like a whole different story. Because the advantage to remaking the 2008 game Dead Space is that you can use like higher quality lighting techniques, and you can really see how that benefits like a horror experience, because this very industrial metallic environment can be made to be so scary and creepy when you take away a lot of the lighting and like strategically use sound and whatnot. It's really cool.
100%.
For sure. Yeah.
And I think like you're saying, I think the fact that they limited themselves in development to it's just this ship, this is the setting. I think it's a sign of really good development team and good storytelling ability by that team to be able to actually craft something that uses the whole ship or a lot of the ship in unique ways, in ways that make sense to the world, that stay fresh to the player throughout the game.
Yeah, for sure. Some of the highlight environments, the intensive care unit in Chapter 2 is some of the best. It's a hospital, pretty much, and you can think of, because of the scenarios that they found themselves on this ship, how cool. Terrifying that sort of an environment could have been. And then you've got hydroponics in Chapter 6. So you think about the way that vegetation would adapt itself to the relic, and what that could look like. It looks almost xenomorph-esque as far as the creep goes. Some of the better moments of the game. This is a highlight moment for sure. A boss battle, which Dead Space 1 does incredibly well. And again, this goes back to the strength and environment. Like, who thought that you would have a boss battle where you're kind of floating in space here?
Right.
Funny, not a cheese moment for the boss battle, but there's a lot of loot in this room that you can loot the entire room before you fight the boss. Really,
that's what I was doing in this clip, actually. I skipped all that because it would have been like 5 minutes of me wrangling loot before.
There's a bunch of stuff, and I remember when I left this room, my first playthrough, I felt a lot better where I was as far as ammo and stuff goes. And then you have moments like this where there are poisonous corridors that you have to run through while enemies are spawning around you. And that gas will kill you, and you have to find what is kind of shooting out that gas and kill it. And if you don't do that, you'll either die or get attacked by an enemy and then panic and make mistakes, and it kind of adds to that mechanic right there where he hit the ground and you saw one of the best parts about the game from a user friendly standpoint. You really can't get lost in the game. It tells you where to go literally at all times. And if you want to kind of venture off into other areas, the game certainly rewards that. One of the strengths of remake, for sure. And again, I'm trying to stay away from view of the ship is such an important part. It's such a big part that it's hard to not mention some of the other parts of the game, like the advancement. All guns can be upgraded with the skill trees that you see right there, which is great. So, but anyway, going back to the ship itself, just such a big part of the game. I think that the setting, when you combine the setting versus the enemies that you're fighting in this game, I think it creates the greatest survival horror video game probably ever made. And it's just it's a great experience. It's a stressful experience because
right,
five moments, but But yeah, Dead Space is because of the beautiful craftsmanship of the USG Ishimura is my pick, and it's a great time.
Nice.
Disagree. It's bad.
Mike played quite a bit of it. I think Mike
No.
played more than I did.
Yeah, probably, because this is the New Game Plus playthrough this footage comes from.
Yeah.
So, yeah, maybe. A little bit.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
Yeah, I agree. I think lighting wise and how they make that a scary environment, it's brilliant. And then like the sequences like the corruption, I think they call it the corruption, the creep. Those create like a really cool contrast of like the usual kind of industrial environment in exchange for like a really creepy organic one. Like, it's just cool. They did a great job with that remake. It's phenomenal.
I agree. All
Who's
right, what we got
going next?
You want to go, Mike?
Sure.
All right, Mike's going.
Because now I have a point to prove.
I chose something kind of fun, I guess. Like something that we probably all have seen at some point or another. Pretty old movie, but it's and the location's the chocolate factory from Willy Wonka and Chocolate Factory.
Love this. I love this.
This is a good one.
Yes.
The original one, not the Johnny Depp
Yeah.
atrocity.
Oh man. Hey,
How
that was
dare
a
you.
great movie.
How dare you?
That was a great movie. It's better than Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah, that's true.
If you're gonna put
But
the bar that
anyway.
low, I mean, yeah, sure.
Like the factory itself is basically like a character in the movie, so like
Yeah.
you don't even see it until like 45 minutes into the movie. But like
Yeah, it's-
Yeah. Oh,
you're
man.
introduced like this in this scene where there's like a gate, and then Willy Wonka kind of comes hobbling out of the factory with a cane, and he's kind of like seems like he's maybe like really frail or whatever, and then he gets
Well, yeah,
up
because
to
that was
it.
the rumor.
Yeah, and then he gets up to them and does like a little somersault, so it's like all a lie. So you don't know if you
Which
can really
is-
trust him or not.
Which is foreshadowing for the entire thing.
Yeah, exactly. Because
Well, that-
Gene Wilder plays this role so well. It's like
So well.
he
The flip
that's
was,
like
was
a
his
very
idea.
finally
role.
like
That's
toes the
amazing.
line between like, is he being sarcastic or is he being dead serious? And you can't really
Right.
tell. Like
You
you
can't
could
tell.
Yeah.
you could interpret like any scene either way. So it's like,
Oh,
so,
that's so good.
you can go to the next slide, I guess, if there's another one.
This is the
Yeah.
first.
So like the
moment.
first room you go into, it has these coat hooks and they're actually like human hands
Yes. Yes.
that move. So it's like
I
right off the
love
bat,
all
you're
this
like, I don't know.
Do you think,
Well, these
those
were
are
like little
machines or are
things-
those people he pays to be behind the wall all day?
Yeah, that's a funny thought.
Right.
It's supposed to be like
Well,
a magic
that's-
coat hanger or something.
Like so this is based off of the book, right? In a way,
Yeah.
this
I've never
particular
read it.
movie is like loosely
sure.
based off
I
of
don't
it.
think it really
a
is.
lot. I think it's inspired by
Yeah.
the Johnny Depp one is almost like based on almost.
God, we're not talking about that
But
one.
this
though.
is
that one doesn't.
right. But this one is more.
You will
inspired by
not
it.
dilute
They
my
got a lot of
experience.
they got a lot of like the magic and whimsy that was it Roald Dahl that did these books. I can't remember.
Yeah, that's right.
There's a lot of magic and whimsy and just interesting. For me, they go back to like little world building things, like how the heck did they make all of this stuff happen? Where is this weird line between like sci-fi, like with the left side of that frame there, all those sharp edges, with everything, and then what is this old Sanskrit thing on the wall looking?
That's the terms of service.
Yeah, I know, right? And
The thing that's cool about that part is like the wording gets smaller and smaller until you can't
yes,
read.
it's literally fine print. It's
Yeah.
literally fine print.
I have a screenshot of this for a reason. So this is up here. Just keep this contract in mind as we continue through these. But there's that.
Oh, what a
Yeah.
shot!
So this room is like it's kind of like the
dentist
you skip
nightmare.
something like they have to go through these like this weird. It's like to get to this room right here from where they were at. he has them go into this room that's like a small hallway, and he's like, go out the other side, whatever.
That's like an
They all
optical
go
illusion.
in there, and there's no like other side. And then he goes out the same door they came in, and then they're in a different hallway. And then that hallway gets smaller and smaller, so they have to like crawl through a little door, and then it opens up into this big, like colorful area where like everything's edible.
So I watched this film when I was really, really young. It's so funny that pick, because I remember being a young kid and came. Is the factory a living thing? Like, does it change? And it's so funny because you're right. They
can't hear you.
Yeah, you cut out.
Oh no.
Try it again.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, it just kind of randomly cuts out.
Sure, but what I was saying was just when I was a kid, I just thinking that the factory was alive because of how much it'll change throughout the film.
Right.
This part here is like the only kind of, it's the only big open space they go into. It's kind of like a big lobby or something, almost like it's not really like their real factory. It's just where I guess it is supposed to be, but like it almost kind of feels like it's kind of for show or whatever. It's like part of the whole. Yeah,
it's like the showroom, the whole live floor mock-up kind of thing.
Yeah, and the whole point of all of this is just to like test the kids out, to like see which one's going to be the best to take over, or like, oh yeah, and then you got the Oompa Loompas from Loompa Land.
What a
but he
what
says
a political
it's so
nightmare that was.
Like there's that part where someone's like, that's not real or whatever, you made that up basically, and he's like, oh no, like for real, like I really went there, It's like, I don't know.
I have to say, as I took these screenshots between these two in particular, but a lot of them, look how like kind of grungy the whole thing looks.
Right.
It's got that 70s wear and tear on it.
Well, I was watching the Red Letter Media kind of review of this movie earlier today, and they were saying that this was like just put together really quickly. Like they didn't have it had like a small budget. It only had like a $2 million budget or something like that.
Wow. I remember hearing that the movie, I think it was because the movie was a vehicle to sell the actual chocolate bars.
Yeah, it was.
They had to recall them.
A commercial for the bar.
Wow.
Yeah, but they had to recall all the chocolate bars though because they were like poisoned or something.
No, they were. The formula was wrong, so they would melt at room temperature.
Oh.
So they had to like recall them.
Oh my god!
If you look at the
being
water
that truck
in the
receiver.
Scene, it literally looks like diarrhea water, so it doesn't surprise me that they had to change the formula.
Come with me to a world of pure diarrhea.
Wait until the part where the kid falls in the water, you'll see. Like it's like I don't think you want to go swimming in that.
It's just water, clearly, like on set at least.
Yeah.
Like I guess in that sense it was true to the chocolate bars then.
Yeah, I remember thinking that even when I was a kid. I was like,
yo, this scene.
Yeah, with the
this scene messed me up.
Yeah, weird.
This part's crazy because like they keep going down the river faster and faster, and at one point he's literally like screaming these like song lyrics.
Yeah,
like it's like completely
terrifying.
They show a chicken getting beheaded as one of the moments. In the slideshow.
And I was
terrifying.
Apparently, that's like one of the only few movies that has like an animal, like a scene of an animal actually getting killed, like a real animal.
Wow,
I can believe it.
Because they cut a chicken's head off. Yeah.
There's a really funny. If you haven't seen it, you need to go watch his content today. Ryan George, who makes Pitch Meetings, thing on this scene is absolutely hysterical because his videos are just like a writer pitching a movie to the producer, and it's like a condensed little funny summary of the movie. And for this sequence, he does like the whole thing. Like he even does like the speech that Wonka does. Like he's like, and then their fears are slowly growing. He does the whole thing, and then he's like. And then we're going to the inventing room. And then the producer guy's like, what the hell was that? And he's like, I don't know, moving on. You going to play it? You just pulled it up.
Amazing.
I heard the audio. It's really funny.
I like how it's all set up too, just to see, because like Charlie and his uncle and his grandpa or whatever are having fun, and like one of the other kids has fun. but then the other kids kind of are, and the dad's kind of like, I want to get off of this. So it's all like part of his sort of evaluation. And then you go here to like the
grungiest
room, I think.
It's the grungiest of all of them.
So they make the everlasting gobstoppers.
Yeah, and
like the test experiment bubblegum thing.
It needs a little kick.
Trash everywhere, just like garbage all over the place.
Yeah, look at it.
Yeah.
See, that's
guys
why,
on like an
like
A-frame ladder up there.
Kind of just for show.
This would not get a high score on like the health sanitation people.
It doesn't matter. They're gonna get rid of OSHA anyway, so.
Yikes!
He puts a shoe in one of the one of his things. So yeah,
that's true.
And a coat. He's like, oh, too cold. He puts a coat in there.
There's a couple. Hold on, I had a couple of minutes. Yeah, there's a part where like the candy thing blows up in Mike TV's face.
I think it's his mouth.
Oh man!
Yeah. And this is where the character Violet, she actually takes the
Violet, you're turning violet, Violet.
Yeah, and then she turns into like a giant blueberry. Basically. And
What's up with
the freaking Oompa Loompas come in and literally like roll her out of the room while they're singing a song.
Yeah.
What's up with him saying Violet for the third time, by the way? You say that, and I've always wondered what the deal with that was.
But also, just real quick, too,
to enunciate
on the previous scene with the chocolate river before the boat, the other kid falls into the chocolate, and Wonka's just kind of like, oh, well. He gets sucked up into that tube and gets stuck, and he's kind of like, I'm really I want to see what's going to happen, basically. So,
he says the suspense is terrible. I hope it lasts. That's what he says.
Yeah.
I hope it lasts.
He's like a genuine psychopath.
He does.
Yeah.
He is.
Yes, the wallpaper frame. Was it you that was talking about
yes.
how many people have licked this wallpaper?
Yes. Do they put it out a new one every day? I hope to Christ they do.
I hope they don't.
It's just in a hallway, too.
I hope somebody has accidentally made out with their grandma. That's what I hope. That's what I hope.
Why does this one taste like garlic and bad breath, Mr. Wonka?
Oh, no.
It's been there for 7 years.
So that's the garlic and bad breath one, Mikey. Why did you lick it? It was your grandmother's favorite.
The infamous fizz bubble.
Oh, the fizzy lifting drink.
I think it just looks cool.
Yep, he tells them not to mess with it, and then they do anyway. And they almost die a horrible death.
The rule breakers.
But then they don't.
This scene here is just trippy. It's like these giant geese, and they lay giant golden eggs, and the Oompa Loompas put them in like a golden shopping cart and wheel them across the table. And then they wrap them up and mail them out.
This is also one of the few scenes where it's not the Oompa. Like, this movie is like kind of almost a musical. Like, there's not enough for it to be one. I don't think so. It only has 3, and this is the last one. Besides the Oompa Loompa stuff, at least.
But it has some other scenes where it's almost, he's not really singing, but it's kind of like poetic or whatever. Like,
sing-songy.
Yeah, that's fair. It's kind of borderline musical.
Because there's Cheer Up Charlie, and then I Got a Golden Ticket, and then this one. And those are the only
There's
3,
another funny thing that happens in this, because those things underneath the geese, they say, like, that needle goes back and forth if it's a good egg or a bad egg. And then, is it
what an
Veruca?
Awful noise it makes.
I think Veruca she jumps in there, and then her
she's
dad
a bad
comes
egg.
after her. And then they're like, where are they going? And he's like, well, that one leads to the furnace. And then Charlie's like,
wow.
they're not really going to get burned in the furnace, are they? And he goes, well, I think that one only goes off every other day, so they should be all right.
They all probably die in this movie. We don't get like a definitive closure on that, like the new movie does.
Whatever, I don't care.
Which is, oh, this was cool.
The TV room, yeah.
Yes.
So like that thing is like a giant camera, but it kind of it's kind of like a teleportation thing, but it's like it turns something smaller onto like I don't know. It's kind of weird actually how it works, but it basically it's like a transporter from Star Wars or from Star Trek, where it like kind of turns you into particles and then reconstitutes you onto like a TV set. But then anyway, they do it first with like a Wonka bar, and then Mike TV's like, I want to be the first person, so he decides to volunteer. and then he gets struck down, and his mom literally picks him up and like puts him in her purse.
The more impressive feat of technology here is not the teleporter; it's the technology that lets you reach into a TV screen to grab things.
Yeah, that's
physically.
that's the weird part right there.
It's crazy weird. Because then, like in the reboot make, like it's even crazier because like they're watching like 2001: A Space Odyssey or something, and like their hand like there's a shot from the inside of the movie world, and like the apes are like aware of the hand. Like they're changing the movie's flow because like the apes are aware of the hand. It's like, what are you doing? Like, what the hell is
that
happening?
movie's so terrible. Could have like a whole podcast on how terrible that movie is.
Okay, so this is why I had the shot of the contract at the beginning, because there he is holding it again, but kind of not really, because
everything's cut in half in this room.
Yeah, is there an explanation for that? I can't remember.
Because he's a murderer.
No explanation.
Doesn't like mean anything. Like he's only like part owner or something.
It's just weird. Yeah, it's literally there's no mention of it. Nobody mentions it at all. I don't think. Like they just walk in the room.
I've got to look into this.
Oh like man, his office is just everything's cut in half.
I know that like there is like a painting kind of established shot of it, and like you from Uncle Joe's perspective and Charlie, they're both kind of like, oh my god, what the hell is this? Yeah. But no one even asked. They don't ask him like, Mr. Wonka, why even have a safe if it's just gonna be cut in half, dude?
Yeah, there's like a clock with I don't know what that thing's called that clicks back and forth, and it's like cut in half, so it sort of only does half of a second or whatever.
Oh, nice. Yeah,
that's funny.
I just like that he has the contract there and he's reading him quotes from it, but he only has half of it there. So like, how?
Ow.
He goes like, etc., etc., because at that point it cuts off.
And then finally they go to the glass elevator and get launched up into the sky for some reason.
Rotoscope or was it rear projection?
It's neither. It looks like a rotoscope. Yeah, probably. Yeah, that's probably what it is. It's definitely not rear projection.
No,
it doesn't even look like it's a model. It looks like it's kind of just like
rear projection in miniature. So like the Wonkavator would be the miniature against a rear projection of.
Maybe,
but I think in motion, I don't think that idea works. I think the parallax is too accurate in the movie for that to work.
I think
it's whatever just nailed it. It should have been tough to do camera move wise.
So, it's a weird shot.
Anyway, iconic location that I think everybody probably saw at least when they were a kid or in school. Or whatever. It's older than all of us. So,
many core memories from that movie.
And I just like it reminded watching it to like kind of scrub it.
So much childhood trauma processed in that movie.
It made me realize how bad the Johnny Depp one is, just in general. Like it's
you know what? That's fair.
Ill imitation of all of the scenes from this movie. And Willy Wonka in that movie, he's like obnoxious and kind of just like too childish. And like compared to Gene Wilder's version, he just like you can't tell. Like I don't know, he's like friendly, but he's also seems like kind of crazy, you know. And it's like Willy Wonka. Johnny Depp's Willy Wonka seems just kind of like an obnoxious like man-child or whatever. Like I don't know. It's like not really. It's just not a good version of the story in my opinion. But anyway,
Mike, we get it. You love the remake more.
What was that?
I said we get it. You love the remake, and you just don't want to admit it. I understand.
Right. I think Tim Burton's more missed than hit in general.
I would agree with that statement. I would agree. Although my favorite movie of all time is one of his.
I think old Tim Burton, like 80s Tim Burton is really good. Like maybe some 90s stuff, but like I don't know, he kind of fell off the wagon. I think. Yeah. He all of his movies became too samey and like trying too hard to have that Tim Burton look or whatever.
Yeah,
whereas like if you watch something like I don't know, just like some of his older movies.
Sleepy Hollow.
Yeah, there's like some grounded aspects, but then there's also some weird stuff. Or like Beetlejuice, like the original one, where like the town is just a normal town. There's nothing weird about like the town they live in, other than I guess the house on the hill is kind of weird. But like besides that, it's like a modern Tim Burton movie, the town itself would have all these like weird angles and crap to like
Yep.
all the buildings and stuff. And I don't know. I just feel like it's yeah. Anyway, just not a huge fan of most of his work, I would say.
Oh no, I totally get that.
It's funny you
Totally
mentioned
get
that because Chris did a Tim Burton movie. That's pretty interesting. Let's
Oh.
talk about it.
Did
let
I?
me guess.
You did.
Did I?
You did.
Oh, okay.
You did.
This is news to me.
I didn't.
have to-
I didn't sub it
I
out
have
for
to take
something
some-
else.
I have to take some notes really quick.
some.
So what Tim Burton movie did I do? Honestly, that's a good podcast idea. You pick the movies for us to like defend,
Oh.
or
I'm gonna give Tori.
We'll workshop that. We'll workshop that.
I'll
All
give
right.
Tori
What if we
prep
don't?
time. It's Attack of the Clones for Tori.
So-
He had prep time.
Oh, God, I hate that movie.
So
Sorry.
Mike thinks that this is just the scene.
I did
not
not
the
say
location
that. I
itself.
said that it was
You
like
did,
a,
you said literally that.
I think it's a mixture of both, but I think it leans a little more into the scene than the location. But I didn't say it was definitively one or the other.
All right. I think that
You broke the rules. Is the point of this? Your win from the arena is gone because of this travesty.
no. I think that La Louisiane in Nadine, France, where the Inglorious Bastards
Oh.
meet. Oh God! I just watched the scene earlier. Why can't Von Hammersmark, Fraulein von Hammersmark, where they meet up with her? I think that this scene, this location, is the key to this scene's success. And it's set up. As with everything in Tarantino's movies, everything is a breakdown of something else. And this is a breakdown of the opening scene, and it also foreshadows things in the end of the movie. Just like all Tarantino's movies do. He kind of has this like 3-point repetition thing where it happens in the beginning, happens in the middle, and then that's how it ends. Kind of thing. So without digging into the introduction of this scene, because it could go on for hours just about that, the scene itself opens by establishing that you are in a cramped, like tiny location. This shot in particular, actually. So it opens with the scene of the German soldier with the card on his head. So, and it's an immediate hard cut from them talking about how there should be no Germans there. Hard cut to a German soldier. So immediately, in perfect Tarantino fashion, everything is flipped on its head. And we're taking what should have been the location for a smooth transfer of information from a double agent to the good guys into what we as the audience know is a crapshoot. It is a death trap. As you're fighting in a basement. And it only works because of the scene. So here we are. We get the shot of the stairs. Everything is cramped. Everything is tiny. It's perfect framing. We are in the bar, and anywhere you are at in the bar, because it's so intimate, you are bumping and rubbing shoulders with somebody else. Someone else is involved. I'm going to get back to this because this is a key moment. But everything is hinted at. Everything that will happen is hinted at in the actions of the players all throughout the scene. But, oh man, I'm off track now. So, let's see. Cool. Everything from like Hickox is like almost not false, but Hickox's failure to actually be the cultured individual he is reported to be only happens because of this tight, intimate scene. If this was in like a larger, like a barracks kind of thing, and they were infiltrating, the stress wouldn't be on just these people, because they would be so obviously outnumbered. And now here they're still outnumbered, but because of the intimacy of the location that this is in, it allowed Tarantino to really set up some dominating characters like Hellstrom and make them supremely impactful, and have this 30-minute-ish scene, I'm sorry, like 20-minute-ish scene, have you get so attached to characters that for the most part you're just now really getting to spend time with, or in Hickox's instance, you're just now getting introduced to him. He's only on screen for I tagged it up from the moment he or I totaled it up from the moment he appears on screen to the moment he dies is 28 minutes, and he's not even on screen for all of it. But because we get this really tight, small, intimate thing, we're forced into this relationship with him and the rest of the bastards in the group, and we're also allowed to feel bad for the German soldiers in ways that I don't think having them outside of this, right? Isn't that a weird thing to think about?
I mean, for me, I just found it funny that, like, when I had to watch this for the purposes of screenshots, I thought that there was something really funny about how gassed up the off-duty soldiers were in the beginning. And then as the officers play their game, you see the, like, in the background, they're all, like, really bummed out. And, like, they're, like, still playing the game, but, like, super half-heartedly. Like,
It's so good. It's so good.
They're just going through the motions as they play.
I freaking love this scene, man.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, there's a lot of attention to detail.
Yeah, and yeah, I kind of hit it. I hit on all the major notes of my, or major points in there. But yeah, the intimacy of it can only happen in a setting like this.
That's where he messed up.
I got it.
Yep, there's the moment.
Yep.
I don't know what I'm doing.
No, you're good. You're good. I kind of went off the rails on my own notes, but yeah, I don't think this would work anywhere else. And I think the choice to make it here, to make a place that is in our minds a relaxation, a place to decompress, a place to meet with friends, a place to have a drink, but also kind of the quintessential, it's the perfect place to have a spy meetup. Kind of thing. It should have been, and maybe outside of a movie probably would have been.
It took some damage. They're gonna have to clean up.
It did take some. Well, no one's there that's alive to clean it up, so everyone died.
In typical Tarantino fashion. Everyone died. But yeah, there's so many layers to how the characters develop, and it's because we're given such an intimate space for them. I just don't see it happening anywhere else.
I mean, this is my favorite Tarantino movie, so
yeah,
the fact that this was your pick,
I would go so far to say that this scene quantitatively outshines the opening scene of this movie. And I know that's a hot take.
That's a pretty.
They're both really good scenes.
They are.
The opening scene, the tension in that. Tarantino's really good at that. It's like that scene in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood with Brad Pitt going to that ranch or whatever. It's like you just ranch. Like the tension of it is like.
Yeah.
It just keeps building up, and you don't really know what's going to happen because it's Tarantino, and anything could happen, really. Like, you don't really know what's going to happen.
Right. I think that there is. The fact that so much between the opening scene and this is mirrored, and then this scene elevates it in its own way and changes it and sort of subverts the expectations while also following the script.
I think that's solid, though. I agree with you that scene only.
I think it quantitatively outperforms it.
Yeah, but you couldn't really do that scene Like that location is
Like
very,
if the bar was above ground, this wouldn't make sense. The tension
Yeah.
wouldn't be there.
Yeah.
But it's the fact that they're
It kind of reminds me
flattening in a
of
basement. I can't get over that line.
yeah.
Sorry, I interrupted you.
No, you're good. Go ahead.
But yeah, that's kind of the gist of it. Is like I think the fact that this took place here is what made the scene so impactful, and I think is what makes it shine so heavily in this movie. Like half of these characters never existed before, and you care about them in your something in you. It hurts because all of them are dead at the end of this scene.
Yeah,
And
really
I think
good
it is
at,
a masterclass. I mean, a masterclass of being able to do that with characters that you just met, and characters that, for the most part, you should not be like. It's a weird play on emotions of like, yeah, this guy is here celebrating with his friends because his wife just had a baby, kind of thing, and that's something that we can all get behind as far as people being excited about and out of the bar. But then you throw in that tagline if they're Nazis, and you're like, oh shit, how am I supposed to feel about this? And that whole thing is going through your head, and then the whole human interaction when Hellstrom comes up and he's just like, so here's what the thing is, at least you and me, in his conversation with Hickox, is like, at least you and I are not walking out of here, because if you guys start firing, they're going to start firing, everybody dies. And are you really going to kill the guy who's on his son's birthday?
I mean, he killed the bartender lady. He kind of deserved it. He's not a good person at the end. Because he's the one that, like, sweeps the entire bar.
He does.
Killing
Yes,
allies
he
and
sweeps the
enemies
bar.
alike. Like,
Yeah,
he's a
yeah.
straight up murderer. Like, it doesn't matter that he has a son. I mean, you
Well, I
watch
mean,
the, like,
at
you
that
see him
point-
straight up gun down the waitress
Yeah.
during that sweep.
The
And you can
waitress
assume...
and the last of the bastards in there. Yeah.
Yeah, and you can also assume that, like, some of that probably also hit one of his buddies to his immediate left, too.
Oh,
So
for sure.
He's,
for sure.
he's a
But
team
you're
killer
also,
all the
like,
way.
spray and pray kind of, I'm trying to make this out alive. There's still a relatable element to that, and an aspect of it that you're like, I don't like that I have this complex emotion about a literal Nazi.
Well, it's humanity, right? Like, just like
Exactly.
not obviously not defending Nazis by any means.
No,
but, like,
absolutely. Yes.
some of
To
them were
be
just
perfectly
Be
clear.
careful
people
what
that
you
were
say.
Nazi.
You will get quoted.
Yeah,
No.
I know, I understand. I'm just saying, a lot of those people were, it's like if you're a German citizen at that time and you're drafted into the army, now you're a Nazi. You know what I mean? Like, it's like,
Right.
I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Also.
yeah. Yeah, I understand where you're coming. I understand what you mean. In that, and it's a really strange, ethical place to have existed in, and to also find ourselves existing in. And it's a really, it's a strange commentary that forces you to think about things that you just wouldn't think about. To have these questions that have no right being asked, let alone answered. But
Yeah,
I think that's the beauty of
just-
cinema.
This scene for me, it like a realism to the film that he's like, nobody is off the table here. Like, everybody could die, and you, as a viewer, it's a powerful thing, but it can go both ways, right? And I think Tarantino wields that so well in almost all of his films. But I think that scene is one of, like, doesn't Fassbender's character die in that scene?
Yeah.
Like for
Everybody
me,
who
that was-
enters that bar dies.
when I saw him in the movie, I was like, okay, he's probably going to survive the entire thing.
Yep, he's the
The
second
end.
act hero. He's
Yeah.
the second act hero. No, it turns out he dies 30 minutes into getting on screen for the first time.
In a horrible death too.
Yeah, literally gets his balls shot off.
Exactly. So it's like,
I
yeah,
think they
I
all
just-
die crazy in that movie.
Yeah, they all die.
Like, all of the lead characters
except for
die.
Hammersmart, who just takes one in the leg. I say just, as if that's not absolutely miserable and awful to have dealt with.
yeah.
Also, I love that they made the movie star double agent
Mhm.
dressed like a spy in a movie in the era in which this film was filmed. Does that make sense? She looks like she's playing a spy in a
yeah.
movie that she would act in.
Sure, makes sense.
But it's not something that an actual spy would probably wear. It's on the nose.
Yeah.
As far as like costume design. And she is, yeah.
Not that it's a part of the scene, but I just have to bring up Brad Pitt.
Incredible.
Probably my favorite role of his, to be honest with you. And I'm not a huge Brad Pitt fan, but I think he's absolutely incredible in this movie.
Yeah,
you believe him. Like he kind of has that like fake Southern draw. Like not really. Well, I mean, there are some people that kind of talk like that, I guess. But like it sounds like an actor trying to do a Southern draw. Yeah. But you also believe him. Like you believe that that's how that guy really talks, and like he's not messing around. You know.
Well, and it's the little things like the scar on his neck that sell it.
Yep.
Yeah. This guy's been.
Who is it? Him and Tarantino do like a freaking an hour and a half long interview about this movie. And that was one of the things they kept going back to was just
check that out.
Was those little it's in if you have the I think it's the 4K. If you have the 4K copy, it's in the bonus features. It's and ironically this is the scene that he has the least amount of time in.
Yep.
Of scenes that he's not even a main part of this scene. Once they're in the bar. But yeah, I think this location and how it was used for the scene is what made the scene as good as it is.
It's a great pick. I like that a lot. That movie's great, and that scene is really great.
Incredible.
Yeah. I liked all of our picks. I thought they were all well balanced.
My surprise of the night is probably tied for Dead Space and the Chocolate Factory. The Chocolate Factory mostly out of just the surprise memory that movie exists.
Oh yeah.
It's trippy too. If you haven't seen it in a long time, you should check it out.
Yeah, like it's been ages. And I know exactly what I'm gonna do before I watch it. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be great. I'm so excited. It's in my Amazon cart right now.
I do have a few honorable mentions that I would like to bring up. If anybody wants to hear any of these,
absolutely.
I know Mike's gonna be mad at me because he's not gonna have photos, but anywho. Okay, so my so I had a few backup picks. I decided to go with
Google
Dead
images.
Space just because I have so much respect and love for that. But The Shining, the Overlook Hotel.
Mm-hmm. That was one that I considered too.
I have an anecdote to that.
Oh,
the exterior of that was the exterior shots of that hotel are a real hotel.
Yeah.
It's on Mount Hood in Oregon.
Nice.
And, it's called the Stanley Hotel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
me and my wife want to go there real bad.
Went there.
Yeah, I bet.
So I got The Shining. In back to video games. Resident Evil 1, the Spencer Mansion. Resident Evil 1 is one of my favorite games. The remake on GameCube to be precise. And the mansion was always something that really stuck with me when I was a kid. I could probably control the character through the whole thing with my eyes closed at this point because I know that map so well.
Nice.
The other one that I have is Stu Macher's house in Scream. The third act in that film takes place there, and I think that it's kind of a different environment that we've seen. And I think it has a lot of character. And this movie goes from like incredibly highbrow, absolute stress fest when you get to this scene, and the house, Buffalo Bill's house, Silence of the Lambs, is absolute fear to its core.
I need to order I need to order. I have the Criterion collection of that in my cart, and I need to order it. I've seen it. It's
pretty
just
incredible.
been ages, and it's one that I want for the collection.
It's kind of like it's almost, I would almost say it's like a flawless movie. Like there's just everything about it is like just very well thought out and like detailed and like it all works.
Love that.
Don't get me started on that movie because I'll never.
I have one to add. It was like gonna be my original pitch, but I changed my mind because of like Mike's explanation of what we were doing. But it was the original thing I thought of was The Beach from the movie The Beach with Leonardo DiCaprio. If anyone's seen that movie,
I don't even know what that is. No,
it's a Danny Boyle movie. It's based on some weird book, but basically, Leonardo DiCaprio's character plays just this guy that kind of travels the world or whatever, and in his travels, he meets up with some different people or whatever, and he meets this person that starts talking about this awesome like special beach that you can go to that's like secluded from everyone, and it's like a very like just kind of beautiful place to go to. So he figures out how to get there, and then ends up being like these people live there, and like there's like a whole kind of cultish community thing going on. And anyway, it's like a weird, really weird movie. But the beach in that movie is like a real place in Thailand. And after the movie came out, it ended up kind of getting like super popular and overrun by tourists. And like eventually the Thailand government had to actually like just ban tourists from even being able to go there anymore. But anyway, it's a cool movie. It's made by Danny Boyle, who did like Sunshine, which is an awesome sci-fi movie if you haven't seen that. And what was it, 28 Days Later? 28 Days Later. And Trainspotting. And a bunch of other really good movies.
I almost did Amity Island from Jaws.
Oh yeah,
that was on my list too.
Did you have any backups, Chris?
Also, oh sorry.
We're done with you, Mike. Shut up.
The ship from Event Horizon.
That was on my list too, actually.
So Tori initially.
That's what I thought you were gonna say with when you started going to Dead Space. Like I thought you were going to talk about that.
I thought you were going to talk about the alien, the ship in the Alien movies, and then you said in video games, are like, oh, the Alien game. Alien Dead Space. Isolation, right? That's what it is.
Sevastopol.
That's what I thought too.
Yeah, because like Tori threw out the Ishimura like immediately, and I was like, oh, cool, because then I could like, I already have footage of that like on hand from our original like failed podcast of that had a bunch of audio problems. So I had all this footage, and I was like, that'd be a good opportunity to test doing footage in the podcast. And then he wanted to do other stuff because he didn't want to do a game, but I was like, I don't recall there being rules. And like when Tori said Event Horizon, I was like, come on, man, don't do like off-brand Dead Space. Like, do the one you want to talk about. Because like if you're talking about Dead Space, you're talking about that. It's the same thing.
Yeah. Well, what's really funny is that the people who made Dead Space, like Event Horizon, is like incredibly strong. I forget the term, but they took so much from that that I felt, oh, maybe I can just continue to be on. Stick with films, and I could practically talk about the same thing. But
I will say,
only rule is there are no rules.
Yeah, but the only thing about Event Horizon, it's made by Paul W.S. Anderson, not the good Paul.
Yeah, not the good
Anderson. The bad Paul. No, the bad Paul Anderson.
No.
It is, and absolutely.
The one that did all of the Resident Evil movies that he did?
He also did Mortal Kombat, and I love that movie.
That is not a positive flex,
Mortal
though.
Kombat movie and Event Horizon, those are like two pretty decent movies he made, but yeah, it still has his kind of like
definitely
style to it. I would say.
You immediately know that it's made by him because of the beginning song of Event. You have this like horror film with like this incredibly intense imagery, and the beginning track is like
yeah, exactly.
It's like, what are we doing right now? It's crazy.
Making bad movies is what he does.
Right.
I highly recommend, if you guys haven't seen, since I mentioned it, watch the movie called Sunshine.
I'm gonna write it down.
It's a Danny Boyle movie, but it's kind of like there's a little bit of it's not like exactly like Event Horizon, but there's a little bit of something that happens in that movie that it's kind of in that realm. But it's basically like the sun is losing its power or something, so they have to send some spaceship up there, and the whole movie is like a journey while they're on the spaceship, and things happen basically.
They got to nuke
Cool.
it from orbit. It's the only way to be sure. I
Yeah,
heard it's very good,
basically,
and
yeah.
music from it is used. That movie kind of had the same effect on the grander art of cinema that like Inception's trailer did, where like everyone's using that stupid "blah" after the Inception trailer. Sunshine had the same thing. There's a musical composition in Sunshine that tons of trailers and even movies and shows have used since.
It's kind of weird because it's not even like a really popular movie, I would say. Like, I don't think it even did well at the box office or anything.
Like there's like Walking Dead's like 5th episode uses that track when they're on a road trip. Like, it's in a lot of stuff you wouldn't think it is, and it came from Sunshine. That's the one thing I know about Sunshine.
No, that happens all the time. Because like audio is one of those things that sticks with you, and like typically like internal, like a lot of times not even realized ways. That's why it's so dramatic when it's used properly in movies, video games, anything that it can be used. That's why it's typically an extraordinarily dramatic tool. Not to circle back and take up too much time, but the record player stops playing the 3rd time the group at the table gets interrupted. And that's also this signal to the audience that shit's about to go down. Because Tarantino has a thing for threes, or threes, as it were. And then it's accentuated when Hellstrom is sort of hard cut introduced, and he goes, and then as the audience we realize the music has stopped, and when he pulls up the needle off the gramophone, and you're just like, oh no, this is it, it's happening. And so like you get some extraordinarily powerful cues from things like music that are like instinctive responses. So it's really, as surprising as it sounds from like a marketing psychology standpoint, it's actually super common and happens all over the industry.
And that is the reason why your pick is wrong. So so notice how everything you said, it didn't matter where it actually took place. You didn't say the name of the bar at all, the Ya Llorona or whatever it's called.
I opened up the thing La Louisiane in Nadine, France, both of which are fake places that Tarantino made up for that scene.
So that's where this topic was kind of muddy. So like my vision for this was like the Death Star. You could talk about the Death Star like infinitely without even talking about the narrative of Star Wars, right?
Star Wars, yeah.
Like you could talk about how big it is and how it moves around and like how it shoots big lasers and whatever. All without mentioning the name Luke Skywalker or Darth Vader. That was kind of the vision, but it got kind of confusing. So like, you know, a lot of these, like the Inglourious Bastards pick is definitely more about what happens at the location versus the location itself, because it could have been any basement, it could have been any bar in a basement, but
it wasn't.
but it wasn't.
But it was at La Louisiane.
So it's like, I think that like the Overlook Hotel was like a good example of like what I was going for, where it's like you see it and all that emotion just kind of like hits you. It's like in Doctor Sleep when they go back to that hotel and you see it. It's like, you know, all that stuff swells up inside of you because you know what's at the Overlook Hotel. Like that location has a character all of its own, basically. And that was kind of what I like wanted to have happen. But it's also like difficult to do that because there's only so many like Death Stars out there. I think Mike's pick like kind of perfectly was what I was going for, because it was like the factory. Like you said it at one point. It's like it's a character all on its own. It got like, you know, tricky.
You're welcome.
I'm being jokey, obviously. Your pick is obviously
that was
not
good
wrong.
though. Like I liked that analysis of that scene though, and Tarantino's really good at that, at those details. Like just as one random.
They're all important. I have like a 30-minute breakdown I can send you. It's in the group chat. I watched months ago, which is actually what made me buy the movie to watch in full again. Where it goes over a lot of those details. And then you watch the scene again with that kind of viewpoint in it, and you're just like, oh my God. Literally everything on screen, everything that's seen through the lens is done on purpose. And like that level of minute control and like command over production is incredible to see, both from just the mind of Tarantino and how he builds his teams. Different podcast subject, but like top tier, like probably at least right now, my favorite top 3 maybe directors. I don't really think that's a hot take.
I think we need to do a favorite directors podcast for sure. I think that would be some really good stuff.
Paul W.S. Anderson, baby.
I'll take
him and Zack Snyder in the same lineup. Top 5.
You take the bad Paul Thomas Wes Anderson. You take Paul Thomas Anderson. I'll take Wes Anderson. And then Tori, you got Tarantino. You got Tarantino.
Okay,
so I feel like that's fair. I think that's fair. We're gonna have a great time.
I love it. Mike, take us home, brother.
Well, as the only real archer amongst everyone here, I too must concur that the audio waveforms of the scene in Inglourious Guys was really well done. Oh God, it's back! 2 in a row. Oh, it's so terrible. All right, we got to get the hell out of here. So, thanks everyone for joining our conversation today. Mike is the winner. Congratulations on your victory. And then I took it away from you after that, so you lost it in the
it's
appeal.
Okay, it was worth it.
Everyone have a good night.
You too. Thanks, guys.